up, world? Established Rich coming right back at you. And this one right here, this is about legacy, not just law. And we talking about Pooh Shiesty and Guccimane. But more importantly, we talking about how a decision could change how one man is viewed forever. This case started as a business situation. And according to prosecutors, it turned into something else. They say a meeting turned into an ambush. They say a contract dispute turned into force. They say somebody was pressured into signing paperwork.
This week, 9 individuals, including well-known musical artists, kidnapped and robbed at gunpoint numerous victims at a music studio in Dallas, Texas. The complaint alleges that on January 10th of this year, 3 music industry professionals traveled to Dallas for a scheduled business meeting. Lontrell Williams Jr. arranged this meeting purportedly to discuss the terms of his recording contract with one of the victims. As alleged, once these 3 men were inside the recording studio, Williams Jr. and 8 co-conspirators, several of whom traveled from Memphis, Tennessee, executed a coordinated armed takeover.
Now that's their version. That's what they have to prove. But this is where everything changes because this case is not built on a video. There is no clear footage of the actual moment. No video of a gun being used in that room. And that matters because it shifts the weight of the case. This is not a play-by-play case. This is a reconstruction case. This is a case built on people talking, not videos. And that's why one name matters than all the rest of the witnesses. Guccimane. He was there. He identified people. His name was in the paperwork. But now there's a different question. Will he testify or will he stay out of it?
This rapper Big 30 is now on house arrest after he was charged along with Pooh Shiesty last week on kidnapping and robbery charges. But Big 30's attorney says that he expects to appeal. Fox 13 told you this morning that a judge in North Texas ordered Pooh Shiesty's dad, Lontrell Williams Sr., to be brought back to Dallas after he was also granted house arrest in Memphis. Fox 13's investigative reporter Kayla Solomon joins us live downtown at the federal court. Kayla, it was a packed courtroom for today's hearing.
Yeah, Darcy, and a number of them were family members, loved ones, supporters of Big 30. Ultimately, a judge decided to assign him a $100,000 bail amount with standard bond conditions like a curfew as well as an ankle monitor. But I heard from his attorney, Arthur Horn, who tells me he's expecting an appeal soon.
Here's a young man that has turned his life around and is trying to make something of himself, and unfortunately has gotten himself caught up in a situation that has nothing to do with him.
R.I.C.H. Jr., also known as Big 30, was given a $100,000 bail by a federal judge with standard bond conditions. But attorney Arthur Horn says the fight to keep him out of custody isn't over.
Going to file an appeal, and they're going to appeal the judge's decision, and we will have to have another detention hearing in Texas on the same facts, just like you saw today.
Right. Of R.I.C.H. co-defendants, Memphis rapper Lontrell Williams Jr., or Pooh Shiesty, was signed to Guccimane's label 1017 Records. Prosecutors say the incident started when the rapper asked to be released from his recording contract, and Guccimane said no. Horn says Big 30 has nothing to do with that.
He has no interest in whether Pooh Shiesty has a contract with 1017 or he doesn't. They're going to make music together regardless.
Horn says he's ready to see how this case plays out in Texas.
I think the interesting thing that we've seen in the last couple of days is that Guccimane has come out publicly and said that he's not cooperating with the government.
And it is worth noting that last week we did hear from an FBI agent who said that he had not heard from Guccimane either. He also noted that there were no working video cameras inside this recording studio at the time of this incident. Darcy.
Now, when you come back from that, understand what you just heard. Because if Gucci don't take that stand, this case feels different immediately. Not over, but different. And the reason is simple. This case needs a human center. Data can build a timeline, but people are what builds belief. They got location data, they got movement, they got social media pictures after the fact, but none of that hits like a voice on the stand. None of that hits like somebody saying, this is what happened to me. And that's why his decision matters, because he's at the center of the case. Now let's go deeper, because this decision is not just legal. This decision is cultural. This decision is strategic. This decision is personal. And all three matter at the same time. Let's start with the culture, because people like to act like that don't exist. In hip hop, perception is everything. Image matters, reputation matters, and Gucci Mane has spent over 2 decades building a certain type of image. Not just an artist, but as a figure in the culture. Silent, aligned with the streets, a man who never looked like he needed the system, a man who looked like he would never help the system. Right or wrong, that image is real. And once he takes that stand, people gonna look at him differently. That's not a courtroom issue, that's a cultural issue. And in hip hop, that matters just as much. So now you start understanding the decision, not agreeing with it, but understanding it. Now let's talk strategy, because it ain't just about street code. This is about business too. This is about what gets exposed in court. When you take that stand, everything will open up. Relationships, contracts, business deals, disputes, things that could have stayed private become public record. And if you Gucci, you got to think about that. You got to ask yourself, is it worth it?
No video of this alleged signing of a contract. They have no guns. They have no jewelry. They have none of that physical evidence. What they have is they have allegedly 5 individuals, one of them being a very well-known individual that is allegedly cooperating with the government and making these allegations against my client and many more. I'm going to take like 1 or 2 questions and then we're going to scoot.
Is it worth stepping into a federal courtroom and having everything around this situation picked apart? Now let's go back to the case again. If he don't testify, the government still has a case, but it becomes harder. It becomes more technical. It becomes less emotional, and juries can feel the difference because data don't connect the same way people do. A person on that stand can move the room. Data just fills the space. And that's why this is such a big deal, because it changes the energy of the case. Now let's flip it. What if he does testify? Now you got a whole different situation. Now he steps into cross-examination. Now everything he says gets tested. Every detail gets questioned. Every timeline gets challenged. Every statement gets picked apart. And that's just the courtroom. That's not even the culture yet. Because after that, the internet clips get made, moments get twisted. A whole day of testimony turns into 5 seconds of narrative. And that narrative sticks. And that's what he's really up against. Not just the law, but the aftermath. So now the decision looks different again. It looks like self-preservation. Not just street self-preservation, but brand self-preservation, reputation self-preservation, long-term image self-preservation. And that's what makes this heavy, because there's no clear line. If he testifies, he risks losing the culture. If he doesn't, he risks losing the case and Pooh Shiesty as an artist. If he steps in, he helps the government. If he stays out, he protects his image. Either way, something gets lost. And that's why this is a real decision, not a comment section decision. This is a decision that hits every level: court, culture, business, and legacy. Now let's be honest about one more thing. The culture is not consistent. People will praise you for one thing today and criticize you for something close to it tomorrow. So even if he did what some people call the right thing, he still might pay for it in the culture. And he knows that. He understands that better than most people talking about it. So if he chooses not to testify, it won't be confusion. It will be a decision based on everything he's built and everything he does not want to lose. And when you look at it like that, it makes sense. Messy sense, but real sense. Because sometimes the biggest courtroom ain't the one with the judge. Sometimes the biggest courtroom is the culture itself. But hey, that's just my opinion. What's yours? Like, comment, subscribe. Established Rich. I'll be back with another one. Peace.